weird.
Okay. I still don't get it, by the way.
No, wait, no, that's just wrong. no, no, okay. Yeah, because apparently it displays that BTG it had 2 L's against KT, but BTG beat KT 2-0, so that makes sense because KT lost twice. But SPT also 2-0'd the nut, so that should also be 2 L's. So
there we go. We got you covered, guys.
Yeah, maths is hard, but we worked it out. It's a display mistake. It can be fixed in post. He says in a live broadcast. As we go into the bans, and it's going to be the Deckard Cain band out.
All right, Tetra. Now, we completely forgot to talk about this, but where is Irel? Are we going to see her in China finally? We double confirmed, by the way. I was actually sending a message over to our good friend Henry over there in China. And I was asking, oh, there she is. I was just making sure that Irel is really allowed because it was so unusual in the first game that she was neither picked nor banned. She was completely left alone. But here we see the first Irel in China. Now, what build are we going to see here? What playstyle are we going to see? I'm super excited about this new hero for the first time in China.
As am I. It's going to be interesting to see how well that works, where they're able to take it. But for now, we're seeing Phoenix and Diablo just starting off with a very standard combo. KT have been, I believe they've already used this particular combo once or twice. No, actually, apparently this is their just straight up first Diablo that they've actually played.
Because I think so far, the only thing we've seen coming in from Timeless, who's the main tank, of course, of KT, he played a lot of Johanna, he's played a lot of Muradin, and there was another hero that he didn't really look good on, then he switched it over. I don't recall which warrior that was. Garrosh? No, was it Garrosh? I don't believe.
The tanks they have played so far are Johanna, Garrosh, and Muradin.
Oh, yes, then it was the Garrosh that looked so harmless. And he basically then switched it over to Johanna, became immediately the best Johanna in the league. Like, he's playing that hero so well, and then also stepped back on the Muradin. So basically, 2 heroes that are a little safer to play than the Garrosh if caught out of position. So, speaking of Johanna, we have summoned her for TeamNut on the other side. Of course, reinforcing Irel and Hanzo. Now, Tetra, you've cast a lot of games over the past few days with the European Open Division, of course, also coming in there. And these teams had, an earlier chance to actually play Irel already. Now, was there any hero, or any heroes, I should probably say, that you found particularly awesome against the Irel? Or do you think she's kind of without counter at the moment because of how strong she is?
Not really. There weren't that many heroes that were brought out. I haven't managed to watch a huge amount of the other HGC regions. That's going to be in my downtime as research, but I didn't have much of a chance. But in Open Division, it was very much she seemed pretty solid, and it was very much down to team skill as the region can be sometimes, as Open Division can be especially.
Yeah, and sometimes like when you play Irel yourself, and you actually find out those counters when you play against them. So, for example, Tychus I actually find to be a really good hero against Irel because she normally isn't that fast in terms of closing gaps, and a well-timed minigun can actually chunk her down pretty heavily, as long as you just don't blast it into the Ardent Defender. Also, another hero, of course, is Muradin. Very, very good, but they already have Diablo, who should be a pretty okay counter himself. But basically speaking, the more CC you have, the more reliable CC you have, the more you can slow her down, at least before level 20, because after level 20, she's going to get Seraphim, and then she's going to be unstoppable at her own will.
So then, we have the Alexstrasza on the board here, the potential dragons. We've already seen how well Alexstrasza can work on Infernal Shrines.
Yep.
So bringing that out as well is always lovely. And then Cassia to come out as well. Once again, this is not PTR, so it's unlikely we're going to see any cheeky buffed Lifebinders finding their way in. So instead, we're going to be sticking with just the zoning potential here. In theory, Alexstrasza can go like full Flame Buffet build with a Dragon application and just go all in for extra slows for Phoenix. That is possible. But I think we're just going to stick with the decent healing numbers, Cleansing Flame for decent damage and setup.
Yeah. I think so. And we're going to have the Lightning Breath already anyways. So if additional slows are required, the Lord of Terror is basically going to jump in and get that done. Now, what is TeamNut going to pick here? The Cassia is already a little bit of a tell by KT, right? So they normally don't want to go for more physical damage. So a Grayman, for example, would be folly. Instead, they should now definitely go for a Mage. China's favorite mage, Jaina, is still available. No, Folly.
I've not heard the word folly in a very long time. Nice vocabulary, Mr. Kendrick.
I thought it was a very British word to say, so I thought you would appreciate it.
I really did, and I also appreciate your precognition here with the Jaina being picked up by TeamNut as well. So once again, China's favorite mage. They have a very oppressive front line with two pretty squishy backlines and squishy support. And we are going to see Leoric. Now, Leoric was picked against Urel once or twice, and it did okay because Leoric has a little bit of better wave clear. But we'll see if this works in terms of objective zoning. We're seeing that Urel being picked up by Fei, one of the most legendary solo laners in this region. So I will be very curious to see how effectively this can be brought to bear.
Yeah, and I also think that Fei, you mentioned him there on the Urel, he stepped up his own game even more. Like, he played a really good Malthael the other day. He's a terrifying Sonya if left alone there as well. So how much can he bring to the table now on this brand new hero? Once again, guys, we have no idea how China plays Urel, whether they're going to shift away from the standard builds like China likes to do every now and then. We could basically see it in the last game when Sergeant Hammer was actually skilled a little differently than what we're used to from the other regions. So I think Murad's inside L1 is a given. I don't think we're going to shy away from that. But what about level 4, level 13, 16? I'm really excited to see what they're going to do there. Even level 10. Maybe we're going to see some Sacred Ground today.
Possibly. The fact is, Sacred Ground was 100% the more popular talent in Open Division. Then Korea comes in, and they're just like, okay, it's absorption, and you're all silly for thinking otherwise. The Ardent Defender being very much the go-to talent over there.
Yeah, I think Snitch played it the other day in HGC as well, and he was just wrecking faces with it. He was going for the most aggressive plays you could possibly imagine and just get away with it simply because of Ardent Defender. It's basically the Divine Shield 2.0. It's also healing you at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive into game number 1 between the Nuts and KT. Who's going to walk away with the victory? We're going to find out in a bit as we go to the Infernal Shrines with TeamNut on the left-hand side in the blue. And already we can see the Murad's insight on the Urel as a fact here, so no crazy China builds on Fei's Urel. Speaking of which, he plays the Urel, of course. We have FS on Johanna, No plays the Hanzo, Oasis on the Jaina, and Atui on the support on Malfurion.
And on the right-hand side, with a talent with some talents we'll talk about in a second, it's Hope on the Phoenix, Timeless on Diablo, TWT on the Alexstrasza, Hikari is on Leoric, and Tape on Cassia. And let's do this. It's a spell shield for Diablo, and it's the blind talent Sephrim's him, I think, for Cassia.
Yeah, okay. Already.
That is, yes, Sephrim's him. Good job, Brain.
That's a lot of unusual talents here already, but it kind of makes sense if you face so many auto attackers, and even Urel, especially in the late game after 16, and she gets those increased splashing extra damage auto attacks. I think the blinds can actually come in very handily, so let's see how much value we're going to see from that talent here. Hope actually getting chased all the way by FS as the rotation comes in, but wave clear speed favoring KT at least until this point.
And Diablo with Soul Shield as well. So Seraphim's him and Soul Shield coming in here. And, well, you're against a Jaina and a Hanzo. They are quite ability power focused, so it makes a bit of sense. He gets CC'd a bit. You can see that shield is active for Diablo as he pulls back to DWT, gets the healing numbers as the rotations continue.
Alright, so Urel actually left the soul lane. Hikari is already patiently waiting. And I would actually love to see this matchup between Leoric and Urel a little more as Hikari moves on over to the mid lane, so he makes sure that his team doesn't miss out on any experience. Soak, Timeless in the meantime, juking out his opponents, dodging a lot of damaging abilities there. Nicely done by him. Walking into the abundance, actually getting the Johanna ready and getting her thrown into the tower's range. Beautifully done here. But I think on paper, Leoric should actually have really good cards up against the Urel, right? As long as he lands the Drain Hope, which he does here actually, he should be fine. Needs to make sure that he doesn't take any unnecessary damage from the minions, and he also needs to watch his own mana bar. Very
true. Leoric not known for being an incredibly mana-intensive hero. Just the Skeletal Swing is usually what you need in a lane, and then let's get a Drain Hope if your opponent starts to trade against you, which is not so bad overall. It's one of the better heroes in terms of laning against anyone. There's very few heroes who actually counter Leoric, just a lot of heroes that can push a little better than him.
Exactly, and that can outmaneuver him. Like, I think mobility might sometimes be his greatest weakness, especially if Wraithwalk is on cooldown, then he normally can't chase people very efficiently. For now, though, we see the Neo-Peasants level 4 wave clear talent to basically keep those lanes in check even more. Look at that play here by Fei, actually using his abilities very well. The hammer to knock back the Drain Hope Leoric, and that is basically the crux of Irel, right? You need to make sure to know when to use which ability, especially if you want to empower it with your trait to have an immediate cast at full efficiency.
And we're seeing Aegis of Light coming in here for Yrel. Not what I would consider to be the usual gift of the Naru here, which is healing your allies when you activate your Divine Purpose. Instead, this gives her allies 35 armor for 5 seconds upon landing Avenging Wrath, which is her leap.
Now, this is one of those talents that a lot of people use, and that I still struggle to make or to really see the use in sometimes, right? Because normally the way you want to play Irel is, of course, you want to jump into the enemy team's backline, you know, you want to lock them down. You don't necessarily want to use it to jump to your allies' aid to give them 35 armor. However, if used in time, you can actually get a huge amount of protection on your allies if needed. So that requires Fei to have even more of an eye to his team's needs, right? Here comes the Dragon Queen. TWT says they've had enough and they now want to fully commit to the Shrine battle.
They're focusing on the Timeless, though. The Dragon Queen brings out the healing Wind Buffet. The anti-healing, though, coming out from Malfurion, going to make it much harder for Timeless to sustain through this, but he's able to heal back up with his own Flame Stomp here. In the meantime, the Dragon Queen has expired 28-25 in favor of TeamNut. They're holding it together. Johanna getting focused, the overpower out of the fend, though, and as such, FS is pulling back, but Phoenix getting some good value. Those AoE attackers, everyone did just group up against him. The Oryx drops low, but is tanking through Drain Hope onto Fei, who is just attacking forward in the 39-35, and that will be the Punisher going over to TeamNut.
Yeah, actually, you could see the value provided by Irel after all, as Malfurion finishes off Leoric with a puny Moonfire. But a good one here. But yes, actually providing 35 armor to that Johanna that was focused down heavily by KT's members really boosted her survivability and allowed her to stay in that team fight. So already, I like how Fei is using the Aegis of Light here at level 4, and they secure themselves the first Punisher. Now, that's probably not going to deal that much damage, but it gets the wall. And thus far, TeamNut with a nice early game advantage.
More Avenging Wrath for Yrel as she has gone for the Holy Avenger here, hitting the enemy hero with Avenging Wrath at a maximum charge, reduces its cooldown by 1 second. Not the Divine Steed once again, so cool to see this. And we see Fend build coming in for Cassia. I don't even know what this talent is called.
So I want to talk about this level 7 Holy Avenger.
Impale. Okay.
Now, yeah, Impale for Cassia, you're totally right. Now, the Divine Steed is a talent that has seen play in all regions, right? Korea, Europe, NA, simply because it's so darn useful. You can use it to escape, you can use it as a quick rotation tool to maybe go for a cheeky flank and reach the backline this way. It's just, quite frankly, so useful. It gives you so much combat maneuverability that I find it really hard to justify the reason to neglect this. So I want to see how well the Holy Avenger is going to work out for Fei on TeamNut. But I think he might actually regret not picking Divine Steed. For all the Irel players out there, you probably know that feeling, right? When you started level 1 on Irel and you've played a lot of Irel over the last few days, you feel so immobile. You feel so slow because you don't have the Divine Steed yet. And only after level 7 will you get that beautiful, fluent playstyle.
We see the lanes being cleared up by both teams, but it's going to be interesting to see. I like the idea of the cooldown reduction here, actually. Like, I think the Divine Steed is going to give them a little bit more team fight potential in terms of positioning, but due to the level 4 talent, I think it synergizes very well. Having the opportunity to leap in to engage and then leap back as soon as possible seems pretty okay, actually. You might be able to make some good plays. You can see just maximum jump value here. Unfortunately, getting focused, but there's another jump. Once again, using Divine Purpose to try and set up here. Heal is good. It's going to be tight, actually. And out. Holy Avenger getting out of there. Level 10 is acquired, and it is going to be the Ardent Defender.
That did look pretty cool, didn't it, Tetra? But what if I told you that with Holy Steed, you could have actually escaped much quicker?
I'm not sure. I think you might have been demounted pretty quickly by Phoenix, and you might have been in trouble and have to use it anyway.
Yeah, okay. Maybe. But anyway, good job by Fee. We don't want to take anything away from him. One way or the other, he manages to stay safe. And also took the Ardent Defender, by the way, so no Sacred Ground. Which, you know, maybe on this map with the Infernal Shrines being a very static objective, you could have actually found an argument for. As it is, though, max protection coming out here as well with the Tranquility. It's going to be really hard, actually, for KT to blow anyone up now, I feel like. Johanna, really hard to kill. Irel, Ardent Defender, Tranquility is going to keep everybody safe and sound. But, of course, they do have those strong, heavy-hitting damage tools available, especially the Lightning Breath and the Purification Salvo is something to be on the lookout for.
So it's a full AoE build coming in for KT with that Impale, which is the extra damage. I believe it is heroes below 60% health take 50% increased damage from Fen, so it's high AoE, which you can upgrade with an extra radius on the Fen later on, which we might end up seeing here with the reduced cooldown on the blind with level 1. So they begin to move in with the Dragon Queen, even more AoE, Purification Salvo, Lightning Breath, even more AoE, great damage for Tranquility. Healing all this up, and with Phoenix already dead, killed off in the backline, this is looking rough for KT as the Dragon Queen trying to get the healing, and as Hikari goes down too, it's a 2 for 0.
And there goes the Ardent Defender, by the way, keeping Faye safe and sound. And with 2 members gone, one of them being Leoric, who responds a little faster, though. I think KT has to give this up. They tried to race it, but even the sheer power of the Dragon Queen for Alexstrasza wasn't enough to stop the onslaught. It is yet again a Phoenix who died early in that teamfight. Even a good one like Hope is not safe against all that damage. Look at that beautiful Jaina burst and the Hanzo on top of it. And that was basically all she rode here. Now, Frozen Punisher will be unlocked for the TeamNut. Let's see how much they can actually make work with it.
They begin pushing forward. This Punisher will easily help them take down this middle fort, and now they're looking for damage onto the tier 2s. You can see Diablo standing very far forward near to his wall, so he can get a good flip over onto someone here. Punisher onto the Leoric, but he Wraith walks an interesting direction, and Hikari will die.
Could it be that Hikari actually thought he had Ominous Wraith already? Because it looked like he was trying to dash through the enemy team members, trying to reduce their damage, and also probably expected a longer duration of the Wraith walk, but that looked a little weird. Anyways, he bought a little bit of time and at least made Timeless survive on the Dibbles. Gave his own life. What a guy. What a nice guy.
What a guy. As level 13 is hit, not sticking with the build, no Repentance coming in here, which would be the increased slow from the Avenging Wrath. Instead, it is Velen's Chosen, which is extra spell power. So I guess this is a aggressive build? I wasn't sure if this was an aggressive or a passive build from Urel up until here.
The thing is, like, you want to hit enemies with your abilities, right? Because you get ability power every single time a basic ability connects. So with a cooldown reduction on your E, I think you're having more chances to basically keep the stacks flowing, you know, to keep your ability power up high. And that could really make a big difference. Not only is it going to increase your damage, by the way, it's also going to increase your self-healing that you have on your Q, for example. I think it should also work with Marad's Insight at level 1. So Urel with this really different kind of build that we are used to normally from the other regions, instead of, as Tetra said, going for the Repentance, for example. A lot of people like to take the Alder Peacekeeper as well, reducing the damage of surrounding enemies after you hit your Q. I'm just really interested in seeing how well this is going to work for Fei. You've got my attention, good sir.
Hikari trying to buy himself some time here. He's already juked one engage, but he's running out of health and will die here. He's bought his team some time, but what have they done with this time? The answer is nothing.
Yeah.
They've cleared mid lane, and now they're rotating to clear the 3 minions in bot lane.
It's really hard to find an excuse for Leoric to get caught like this over and over again, right? When you have the Wraith Walk available.
And I don't know, he could have, like, maybe Wraith walked the other way, but they were set up to try and defend him. But if you're gonna die, you might as well at least die nearer to your base. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe communication is a little off right now between the members of KT, you know. Hikari maybe being on a different page than his remaining team members. But as it is, TeamNut, you know,
maybe they're pulling a June.
Yeah, pulling off a June, not being in team comms, you know, still dominating everything. Oh, he was actually muted, I believe. He was in team comms, but he was muted.
For those who didn't see that, there was a tweet, I think it was from Cattle.
I think it was Cattle, yeah.
Yeah, where basically he was like, just asking June repeatedly, just like, June, how long till laser? June, how long till laser? And apparently no one realized, including June, that June was muted, and they didn't realize the entire game because they kept listening to June's calls anyway.
Yep.
According to June, they just kept doing what he said, even though they couldn't hear him.
So, pretty awesome to hear that, but I don't know. In China, we can basically exclude these communication issues, right? Because they're in an offline environment, so even then, I think they could probably hear each other in that booth. Anyways, speaking of Hikari, he's taking a lot of damage again. This time he's trying to go in with the Ominous Wraith, slowing down the damage, increasing his own teammates' performance here. Let's see what they can do.
Johanna gets that 35 armor. March of the Black King. There's a lot of damage, but wiped by that Ring of Frost. Dragon Arrow misses Hape, though, who is putting a lot of pressure onto the backline with that fend now with the Penetrate at level 13 for even more area of damage. As you see him moving in, he needs to get the blind to get the healing from Ring of the Leech, but it's not enough. He gets taken out by Jada. It's currently a 2, make it 3 for 0 as Timeless gets pinged with Dragon Arrows. And actually, he's surviving a really long time, but finally taken out by Hanzo. No picks up the kill, and Hikari also forced to back out.
This is starting to become a theme for KT, right? You can't lose Leoric that early in a teamfight. True, Leoric can sometimes be the scapegoat, right? Who takes all the enemy team's focus fire only to allow and enable his teammates to win a team fight and get the objective. But if you die that early, completely whiffing most of his March of the Black King, there we go. You're not going to do a lot of, you're not going to get a lot of value for your team. Actually, the knockback and the arrow having some anti-synergy here, but you can see Hape is completely separated from his team. He got knocked back and chased down all the way, and even Alex Strasser's Dragon Queen, yet again, not enough to actually keep them safe and sound.
I completely agree with you, other than the fact that it is clear that Yorel is the space coach, not Leoric. Hooray for intentionally mishearing. You see the Keep Killer get taken down here with the Punisher. And, wow, Blessed Shield immediately onto Diablo, and he is gone. See ya. No souls either. He already used them to revive. We see the continued push forward. This is a core attempt coming in. Nuts.
And while it is actually an Arcane Punisher, and we all know how much damage these Arcane turrets can actually do on the ground. Look at that. Look at the HP of the core and how it's getting melted down by the Punisher and by the members of TeamNut. But here comes a desperation fighting attempt by KT. Can they hold it? I don't think they can. 2 members already down, Tetcher.
Salvo with not enough slows. Leoric is alone. Taken out. TWT desperately trying to just shoot some fire out to buy some time, but the core is going down. And game number 1 goes over to TeamNut.
And it looks like Tetcher team cohesion and team synergy outclasses the individual strength of KT right here, right now. So well played by TeamNut. I think it's safe to say that this Irel, although the build was a little different,